I had a life-changing moment at La Rosa's when I left there back in 2015, and I went home that night and thought, why not me? Why I've done all the work. I've been the owner without being the owner.
Yeah.
Why don't I take a leap of faith?
Welcome to the Focal Flip Podcast. Every week we take a deep dive into the mystery and stigma behind mental health and explore real-life stories of struggle and triumph. We aim to educate and encourage others as we bring together a diverse group of guests. From the streets to sanctuaries, classrooms to boardrooms, mental health does not discriminate, neither do we. Prepare to laugh, prepare to cry, prepare to be changed. Let's get into it. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Focal Flip Podcast. Today I've got an awesome guest, an unlikely friend from the community we crossed years back. This is Bill Aseere. Bill, welcome, buddy.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Dude,
I'm
problem.
Excited.
No problem. I'm stoked. I'm absolutely stoked. We're going to get into some good stuff today.
I think this is my first podcast, so
no pressure.
No pressure, Mr. Kennedy.
No pressure. I don't like being on camera anyways. And I've been telling people I'm not a polished podcast host, so I'm a wild card. Handle me with grace.
People like authenticity, so here we are.
We're going to find out. All right, Bill. So what I know of Bill, everybody, Independence fella, we crossed paths. I don't know. It may have been like 10 years ago-ish. But anyways, I know you somewhat. I've got to watch a little bit of your story from just a business perspective. And just tell me about you, Bill. Who is Bill Aseere? We'll get into what you do in a minute, but who is Bill Aseere?
Yep. Bill Aseere is a boy from Covington that came from nothing. Slept in a queen-size bed with my mom and my brother till I was 18. Had nothing. My mom was on disability. She had a stroke when she was 26, when I was 4. Just really grinded my way my whole life for people have given me opportunities, and I've taken it and been the hardest worker in the room. I've never been the smartest man in the room. I've always been the hardest worker, though. And at 42 years age now, as of this week, I can't believe where I'm at in my life now. I'm
Happy birthday.
Family man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Family man. Kids always first. I got a great wife. Been married for 18 years, Sarah. So I just keep my head down and work, and that's why I don't like doing things like this. I don't like talking about myself. Honestly, I just keep my head down and grind and try to do a good job.
Yeah,
so.
And that's why I'm grateful for you coming out here. I know the folks that don't want to be on this, but they're amazing people. So I appreciate it again.
Yeah.
And I know it can be uncomfortable, but it takes courage, and that just tells me you're a humble person, man.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And we're grateful for that. So our communities around here, that's my thing, buddy. So seeing you up and about, hold on, let's dial that back. You were 4 when? How old were you?
So I was 4. My mom and dad lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I was born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. My mom and dad got divorced. My mom had a stroke. Parents got divorced. We moved up to Covington, where my grandma and grandpa lived. They had a small efficiency building in Covington, right by Goble Park, and we lived upstairs. Couldn't afford anything. Mom was on disability, making probably at the time $600-700 a month. So my brother and I, 10-year-old, 5-year-old boys,
Wow.
Just one little bedroom, one TV, in the whole entire place. It was tough. So my mom did everything she could with my grandma and grandpa to put us through private school. So we went to Prince of Peace in Covington.
Yeah.
And then I worked my butt off and did good in school. Got an opportunity to go to Covington Catholic High School. I tell a lot of people we do a lot for CovCath because
we're going to get into that.
CovCath changed my life, so don't want to take too much of your thunder, but did the work study program there. So every day after school, I couldn't play sports. Couldn't do a lot with my friends because I had to do work study. So from 3 till 6, I was cleaning boards, washing. So, washing the floors, doing whatever it took, but I got a free tuition out of it. So kid from Covington, just got an opportunity.
Head down and grinding for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Taught me work ethic.
My father had a stroke. So I had to sneak back in that way because I'm very familiar with the strokes and how that affects families. And
she was paralyzed. Her whole right side of her body was paralyzed, and just really couldn't live on her own. So her mom brought her in, mom and dad brought her in, and they helped raise us. Wow. I mean, my grandma was just as much as my mom was. So it was great.
Wow. That's incredible. Let's talk about me seeing you out and about and following some of the stuff that you do. Man, you guys are out there swinging in the big leagues. I see you working with the Bengals, and I'm clearly a diehard Bengals fan. I love the Bengals, always have, always will. I know your story. I see you up there doing these things. I enjoy following the social media. So with that, you have a restaurant group.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
So can you tell us about the restaurant group? For everybody who doesn't know, this name of this restaurant group is cool. It's Space Cowboys Restaurant Group. And I remember years ago when Bill first brought it up, and I was like, man, that is completely unique. But where did you come up with that?
Yeah. So
where'd you come up with Space? Tell me about Space Cowboys.
Let's work through it a little bit. It's funny. My best friend, Mike Ash, we've been best friends since kindergarten, went to school together. When my mom had some hysterectomy, she was, again, already stroke. Now she had to get a hysterectomy. Mike, his family brought me in. I lived with Mike for months. So this guy's been my best friend since kindergarten. We started this business back in 2016 with our other friend, Mark Halpin. The three of us were in Space Cowboys. Basically, intramural teams was what we did through high school. So we put these teams together, softball, basketball, flag football, and we needed a name. So I text Mike on the way here, actually, and I was like, how in the world did we get this name? I think I know, but like...
Mike Ash?
Yeah. So Mike was like, no, it was when we were listening to the Steve Miller song, The Joker. It was just, we needed a name. We were all hanging out, and it just popped, and it stuck, and I'll tell you, Mike, everybody loves our name. We get so much
some people call you the Space Cowboys. Yeah. Now everybody's...
my password for many things is Maurice. Some people call me Space Cowboys. Some people call me Maurice.
This is so cool. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a name that stuck. It's fun. We've made a cool logo out of it. But the really cool thing about Space Cowboys to me is we have a lot of friends in our friend group that's either worked for us, worked with us, or helped us with our business.
Yeah.
So we built those relationships in high school. Like I told you, Mike's my best friend since kindergarten, and it's carried on through our adult life. So that's one thing I can tell people is make those relationships early because they're going to be there for you for the rest of your life.
Ooh, so that's a great piece of wisdom.
Yep, Space Cowboys has been the epitome of that, making the friends and growing together as business. So.
Oh, I love that. That's what I've been learning now as I'm getting ready to launch kind of the podcast, is that all of a sudden there's a great core group of Simon Kitten folks and people that I went to school with that are just like naturally falling in line, and it's a thing of beauty.
Yep.
And I've gotten to watch your growth, and you probably don't realize how much I've watched kind of what you did and what your group has done. Space Cowboys Restaurant Group. Everybody who isn't aware, they have, how many locations do you have total real quick? It's Donato's, Witt's, and Guthrie's.
Yep. How
many locations total does Space Cowboys have?
So we're up to 22 total locations. So we became the largest Donato's franchise partner in spring of last year. So it's funny, we started this venture with the thought of Donato's. We wanted to bring Donato's to the markets in the area where there wasn't Donato's. We wanted to provide Donato's to more independents, as a great example.
Yeah.
Campbell County, we have a store in Highland Heights. So we started, and when we talked to corporate, the first answer was no. They just said, no, we've got an established owner. He has 40 stores. He has all the Indianapolis market, all of Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and all of Cleveland.
Yeah.
Well, I don't take no. So I drove to Columbus and met with the CEO and sat down, and I said, hey, I know you said no, but this is my vision. I have a vision of giving this pizza to everybody because it's the best pizza. You're just not everywhere like other people are, other businesses are. So I walked out of there with a 3-store deal. And with the thought of maybe one day that guy will retire. And it came a little quicker than we thought. He asked us to buy his 15 existing. So we bought those. We had 2 existing Donato's. During that time, before the 15 purchase, we built up 3 Guthrie's chicken and 2 Witt's frozen custards as well.
Yeah.
So
Guthrie's Burlington.
Mineola Pike. And then Fort Wright.
Fort Wright. Yeah. Okay. Wow. So. That's incredible.
It's been a fun ride. It's crazy how it's compounded, right? We went from 1 to 2 to 5 to 7 to 22. And it's just, and now we talked a little bit offline. We're getting opportunities. It feels like every other week with more opportunities, and we're just trying to pump the brakes a little bit and love on our employees before we take another step. So
That's awesome. Well, what's really cool is you're saying loving on our employees before we take another step, but yet you're relentless. That's what I got out of that.
Yeah.
Resilience,
Yeah.
relentless. And it sounds to me like you firmly believed in that. Number one, to anybody who doesn't know, it is not easy to just drive to a city and just hop in with a CEO and push your stuff on. It takes a lot of work. Dude, kudos. But it's not just like, I'm not giving you the shout out for that. It's because you believed in the brand, you believed in the product clearly, and you're building and basing everything out of community. At least that's just my take. You know, and I feel like I'm kind of neutral. We've worked a little bit in the restaurant industry, but like, that's kind of what I'm taking. Is that what?
I've always been a community guy. We'll get into a little bit of my story before, whenever you want to. But I was with La Rosa's for 17 years. It was my first job. I worked up from a dishwasher all the way up to a district manager. Only had one job for 17 years. Started out at 14, and I learned a lot from Buddy and his family that community brings people in to support you. So I led that with the front of the pack. People would come into my stores to support Bill, not for the brand or not for the owner. They knew me. So I learned that, like, oh wow, if I make these connections, and it was I kind of did it at the start of kind of like, hey, let's help the business. And then I start to realize, man, I'm making a lot of cool relationships here. Between church and family and friends and, you know, basketball. I'm a big basketball guy. Now I coach AAU basketball from relationships I've built. So all these relationships just start compounding. So I took all those, and then we started Space Cowboys. So I want to say something about Space Cowboys too. So Mike and Mark, it's funny, some advice I'll give anybody that's listening is when you start a business with partners, you got to find pieces that match together. So I'll tell you, everybody, in 7+ years, we've never had a disagreement, which is absolutely crazy. 3 owners, 3 different owners. I'm obviously the managing partner that kind of runs the day to day.
Sure.
Mike's the conservative of the group. Mike's dad started his own software company. He dropped out of high school and started his own software company. Now he's a very self-made man.
Wonderful.
And Mike works as the president of that company now, runs the company. Mike went and got a college degree, and smart guy, super conservative, has those core values of being a good person, doing the right thing, right? I'm in the middle. I'm conservative. Sarah and I are very conservative with our personal funds, but I'm relentless, and I'm a driver on the business side. And my partner, Mark, who works for the IRS, he is a gambler. He supports everything that we do, but his answer is always, yes, where do I sign? So my point there is we've got 3 different unique mentalities that it just works. It's awesome. So
it's like 3 different, but it's a yin and yang type thing, but just with 3.
We talk, text, email multiple times a day, just to ping things off each other. I'll never go and do something without them knowing 100% what's happening. And you know, we have that complete trust in each other, which makes a partnership. So that's
awesome. This wasn't even in my notes to really do, but I follow a lot of motivational, inspirational, hardworking people, recovery type things. And one of the biggest things that I heard was Robert Downey Jr. Okay, so I'm in my Iron Man. I'm on my journey. I'm watching everybody on their journeys, and all of a sudden, these folks are falling into place. And then the past, and he mentioned that it's all loosely prearranged destiny.
Interesting,
isn't it?
It's crazy.
I've never really heard of it like that, and it was just like, oh. Okay, that's another way to think of how everything just made sense. And here you are with your buddies at 5 years old, growing up. You've got the trust, you got the nucleus, you got the core, you got the drive, that's intellect. That's beautiful. And the fact that you're based on community, that's why this is probably why you succeed.
Feels like it.
The product's
we just try to do the right thing. Our business motto is where quality and community come together. And we don't really use that, but it's always been my mental passion of our business core. We've got quality products. We love on the community, and then they kind of tie together. But when you said that about, I think the destiny, it made me think of, why not us? I've always had that mentality. As a poor kid growing up with nothing, it was a roadblock of, You see people. I went to Covcath, and there were kids driving Lexuses, right? And
Sure.
I'm getting dropped off by my mom, right? And I get like a 1992 Honda Civic that's not even going to make it to school. And it was always this uphill thought of, wow, how am I going to get from? And there's a lot of people in this world. It's like, I'm here. How do I get here? How do these millionaires get to where they're at? And so we'll get into it. I had a life-changing moment at La Rosa's when I left there back in 2015, and I went home that night and thought, why not me? Why I've done all the work. I've been the owner without being the owner.
Yeah.
Why don't I take a leap of faith, right?
Sure.
And that's really some wisdom that I've kind of been self-reflecting on is why not us? Go. You only live once. Just leave it all out there. What are we waiting for? So many people are scared to take a risk. Yeah. What's the worst that's going to happen? I don't have stage 4 cancer right now. At the end of the day, it's all about health, right? So until the brakes fall off, just ride it. So that's what we're doing. We're riding it. We're seeing what happens, but we have to execute. Execution, the risk is the first step, but then you got to execute.
Absolutely. So. Man, I love that. You can't see my board right now, but you'll hear in other episodes too. There's another thing that I go by because I'm 39. Okay, I'm 39 years old, and I'm head first into my mission, my goal. I love people, destigmatizing this thing. And here it is at 39, the previous 38 years.
Yep.
So much was driven by fear.
Yep.
So on my board back there, I love to scroll through reels and shorts. And I love watching community stuff. This dude was on there and he said what he found out was fear is a mile wide, but an inch deep.
Yep.
And then I look back at my past and I'm sitting here going, everything that I was so scared of and fearful of, how much of it actually came true?
Yep. It's crazy because Sarah, my wife, I talk about her with everybody all the time because she's my anchor.
Yeah.
She's always that, what are we doing? She gives me that conservative, wait, what? And I'm always like, just trust me. And it always comes back to, I'm going to get emotional. It always comes back to, she believes in me. She's always like, we'll figure it out, but I'm terrified. And it's like when we bought the first stores, it's like, well, we've never been an owner. And as an owner, everybody that wants to start a restaurant or start any business, they're excited, right? And then you start getting the bills in, and then you get that pit in your stomach where it's like, oh man, can I make these bills? I've got employees relying on me now. How do we cash flow? I learned a lot. I got my teeth kicked in on cash flow. You start a business, you're excited with the sales, you're excited with the community outreach, and you start getting all these bills in, and you start figuring out cash flow is king. You have to figure out, can you pay the bills every single month to keep the business going? Can you save a little bit to grow the business? Do you want to go out and spend it all? Do you want to reserve and keep growing your empire, right? So my point there was just the fear is it's an inch deep. You're exactly right, because you don't know what you don't know. Until you go out and try it, you can do it. I mean,
I love that.
Just put it out there and try it.
Dude, you're really spitting some really good wisdom, man. I and all of my friends that are watching really appreciate it, because it's like it's a journey, and I think a lot of people don't understand it. They can just see the end product, but then not understand the pieces and the connected dots that go into doing that.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go ahead and segue into this beast.
Right.
2015, you had this moment. I clearly work on destigmatizing mental health, normalizing people getting treatment, talking about anxiety, depression, stress, alcoholism, addiction, everything.
Right.
So with that, now that I'm kind of with Focal Flip, I'm starting to see, I've had a business background, I'm starting to see a lot of stuff, and I know what the work that it takes. So can you tell me, bring me up? I know your background now because you're a grind hustler. You're lined up with the right people. Tell me about your mental health journey.
Sure. Yeah, and it's bear with me here. It's something I don't talk about a lot, Mike, because I don't want people to look at me a certain way. I want people to know me as a grinder and a hard worker that's humble, that takes care of his family. But so like I told you before, I worked at La Rosa's. It was my first job. I went to Covcath. I did my work study program till 6. Went into La Rosa's in Covington around 6:15, and closed every night. I was putting 30, 40 hours a weekend as a 15-year-old kid because I was helping pay the bills at home. We had nothing at home, so I'm helping pay for groceries,
Jumping
rent,
right in.
whatever it took. So I learned at a young age, work. I rose up quick. By 18, I was a general manager making $50,000 a year, which back in 2005, probably a decent amount of money. Went out and bought a car with cash, different stuff, right? Just it was cool. Didn't know.
Very cool.
And I saved. I did smart things. Kept working. Moved all the way up to a district manager before I was 30. So, here I am making close to six figures, not even 30 yet. And to me, La Rosa's was my life. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they jump jobs, they test the waters, and we see that more and more these days.
Yeah, you do.
There's no loyalty. There's less. I don't want to say no. There's less loyalty these days. I was loyal to a core of the brand that believed in me, that gave me my job. I went and got a college degree, and I wanted to be an FBI agent. Just a little segue here, little sides. I wanted to be an FBI agent. I wanted to be Mike Larry from Bad Boys. That was me, right? Will Smith was my guy.
Awesome,
loved it. I went to school, got a degree in accounting and political science. I wanted to go do white collar crime. Met my wife Sarah. I had an opportunity to take an internship with the FBI. And my wife had a beautiful 4-year-old daughter at the time, Caitlin, that she basically was like, I'm not moving and I'm not going to live this life where I don't know what you're doing every day. It's the secrecy life. So I said, you know what? Family first. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to keep working my way up and stay in the restaurant business. So stay home, worked at La Rosa's.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear all this.
It's funny. So I worked my way up.
That's cool.
Things got a little bumpy 2014. So Independence, Taylor Mill, beautiful new store that the company I was working for built at the time, and then Dry Ridge was in our wheelhouse. I was kind of helping oversee all of them. Independence was my main store. That was I was the main manager there. Everybody knew me there. That store opened 2012, I believe.
Yeah.
I oversaw that one. Beautiful store, very busy store. I needed a manager to come be the anchor at that store, so I could start helping Taylor Mill and Dry Ridge and kind of being that leader of a multi-unit manager that they needed for me. So I brought a friend of mine in that I worked with at a different La Rosa's, a different life, like 10 years prior. Everything was going great worker, worked hard, and then I get a call one day from the owner, Mr. Holland, Gary Holland. So Gary calls me and he's like, hey, we got a problem. This was late 2014. I said, well, what's going on, Gary? Me and Gary talked every day. I don't know if anybody knows Gary. Gary's a smart guy, has a lot of businesses. Very similar story. Came from nothing.
And Gary Holland.
And Gary does a great job now. He's he has a lot of restaurants, a lot of people work for him. And so Gary called me and he's like, "Hey, we got a problem." And I'm like, "What?" And I never had problems. I was a hard worker, did my job, and I'm like, "What's the problem?" And he's like, "We're short thousands of dollars at the Independence location." And I was like, "How are we short?" So I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll dig into it." So I've always excelled in math. Math has always been my thing.
Yeah.
I might have a face for radio, but I understand numbers. It helps me on the business side, right? So, of course, I dig in, and within 24 hours, I find out that this manager that I brought is stealing. So he's manipulating numbers in the system. So, and this is my pivotal moment in my life that's changed everything.
Okay.
I went home and I thought about it. I said, well, at first it's anger. It's like, you've positioned me in a spot where you're put me in a terrible spot because I've given you this opportunity to get this job and you're stealing from the company. And to me, it was you're stealing from me, even though it wasn't my money.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm the manager.
He was the guy you brought in. Yeah.
So frustration, right? So just complete anger. And then I start thinking through it and I said, well, you know what? Let's go talk to him. So the next morning I sat down with them and I said, what's going on? And, of course, when people have a problem, they don't acknowledge it. They just, we talked about it before. Yep. They bury it. They push it down.
Yeah, suppress it.
So I was vulnerable and I start crying and broke down. I was like, you're putting me in a bad spot with an owner that I love, that I'm trying to work up my way and grow. It's all I knew at the time. Can I be this guy's right-hand man? I see how successful he is. And he said, well, I'm addicted to painkillers. Oh. So he was stealing from the company to continue the life of providing for his wife and kids while also supplementing for his painkillers.
Correct.
So me, trying to be a good human, I said, you got 2 weeks to pay this money back. And he didn't pay it back. He kept going. So I went to Gary and I said, look, I lied to you. I told you I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
This is what's going on. So we parted ways.
Sure. Okay.
I think it was a trust thing at that point. And
I
at the
time, I get it.
At the time, super frustrating for me because I felt like I did the right thing by giving this guy a chance to be a good be a good husband and be a good father, and he didn't choose the right path, and it's something that I still carry of frustration.
Because you were
I wanted to give him
that everywhere, right?
And I still struggle daily with why me? Why did that happen to me? Right. Wow. So we talked, and it just was best that we moved on. So I went home that day, January 20th of 2015, and my wife was making pot pie. It's always my joke. I told her I'm going to get a pot pie tattoo, and she's like, please don't do that. That's so weird. She was making pot pie, and I walked in. I was like, don't have a job. You're right. And I had a job for 20 years, and we're making great money. Had our house, young kid, and
she said you've always been hustling and grinding ever since you were young.
And she looked at me, and she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I decided that we're just going to we're going to walk away, and I'm going to figure it out. And she's like, this is all you've done. And I was like, I'll figure it out. Wow. The next morning, I'm calling on the phone. I'm delivering pizzas that night. A good friend of mine, Christian Strong, he owns Strong's Brick Oven Pizza. We worked together at La Rosa's in a different life. Cool. He was my first boss. Absolute amazing guy. I called him. I said, I need your help. He said, what do you need? And I said, I just need to make money. I didn't need to make money. We had some, but to me, it's that grind.
You had enough to get you through.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm delivering pizzas that night. Literally, like I told Sarah, I was like, I'll figure it out. Delivering pizzas. So next morning, I get a letter in the mail. 3-year cease and desist of non-compete. So Gary, smart man, right?
Yeah.
Says, hey, I don't want you hurting me. I said, whoa.
I can get it.
So I'm like, okay, I'll figure this out, right? So I was figuring it out. Went to go run a sports bar in Forest Park, which was far from any of the La Rosas, and that was owned by that guy. So Ed Reynolds, another shout out I'm going to do.
Yeah.
He owned the Jack's Tavern Sports Bar. A friend of mine through church, through St. Cecilia in Independence here, where I was married, where my wife went to school. Ed is an anchor in our community. For those that don't know Ed's a great human being. He said, I need your help at Jack's. Can you help me run it? So I went into Jack's with a new mentality of, hey, I'm going to run a sports bar. I've never ran a sports bar, but I'll figure it out. And it was, honestly, Mike, it was a fun 3-year ride. It was different. A lot of late nights.
Yeah. You guys were grinding. That's when we restarted working together.
And that was really that 3-year window of leaving La Rosa's, leaving what I knew, having my heart broke from somebody I trusted, and giving somebody that believed in me doubt of myself to that next 3 years was tough. Toughest 3 years of my life, because Sarah, and she'll tell you today, she's like, that was the worst 3 years of our marriage. And to me, it was like, I'm working, I'm doing what I can. Yeah. Like, what's the, why? And she's like, well, you were an hour away. You worked till 2:00 in the morning, right? So it was like, man, it's crazy that I saw it from my perspective of I'm doing what I can as a husband, and you're having doubts. But to me, it was like, I don't understand. And now looking back, 10 years later or 8 years later, it's like, that makes sense. I wasn't home, right? Yeah. She didn't know what I was doing. I'm running a sports bar, hustling, grinding at a bar, serving drinks to single girls. I mean, in her mentality, she's like, who knows what he's doing? He's an hour away. And to me, I didn't think like that. But when I reflect back in her shoes, it makes a lot of sense.
Makes perfect sense.
So it's a scary time. So fast forward through that, had a great time at Jack's. Just wasn't happy. It wasn't me. Right. It wasn't the fit. But it was a perfect temporary solution for me to get paid, help a guy out. He helped me out. And then me and Mike, again, best friends since kindergarten. We've been talking on and off. We were talking on and off about ideas. And he said, hey, let's start a business. And I never started a business, but I worked, and I said, you know what? I've always had this itch to start my own business. So what are you thinking? He's like, well, we need to do pizza. Pizza. I said, well, let me tell you something, Mike. Me and Sarah, every Wednesday on my off day at La Rosa's, we would go to Donato's in Erlanger. We would go sneak into Donato's and have a pizza, a chicken mariachi or pepperoni and some breadsticks. It was like our cheat day. I'm a brand guy, right? So La Rosa's was in my blood. I felt like I was cheating on La Rosa's. But I loved Donato's pizza. It was our favorite pizza. So I said, let's go buy some Donato's. And he's like, I love Donato's. I was like, let's do it. So then it came to, we called Donato's. Then I was like, we're not looking. And I was like, that's not good enough. So I drove to Columbus. And Mike and I left there with a 3-store deal. And now, 7 years later, we got 22 plus locations.
It's amazing. So, I love it.
Sorry for rambling, but that
is definitely not rambling at all. I'm very grateful for you sharing that. And honestly, it takes a level means vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you sharing that. I have a respect for everybody in this community. That includes you, Holland Group for sure, Gary, people that work underneath it. I have a respect for everybody just in this community in general. And looking back after you kind of telling that story, I can only imagine kind of the journey that your mind was going through and the emotions, because at that point you had to make a decision, right? And so what you're doing, you feel like you're making is right, and here it was. So I could see why there would be that gap, that. Now, with that, what's it like now? Like I've enjoyed this conversation because I haven't really got to hang with you in a while.
Right.
So situations like that, now that you're running 22 stores,
Yep. It's always, we talked about it a little bit earlier, it's always perspective of your own shoes. And it's really the truth of every walk of life. It's, if you look at the world through your shoes, you're going to be looking at it in a one path, but you have to open your eyes. You have to open your blinders and look at it. So at that time with La Rosa's, I was devastated, right?
Yeah.
And I even was remorseful to where I thought La Rosa's would have understood why I did what I did and got past it. Now as a business owner, I completely understand because it wasn't my money to make that decision.
Correct.
And now as a business owner, if you're stealing from me, I have a problem with that because I, as a business owner, want to do what's right for my employees. And I'm somebody, and I would say that I would hope my employees would tell you, call me up. If you need $500, I'm writing you a check right now. Just ask.
Yes.
Do you need a raise? Let's work you on a path to get you a raise. We do fair evaluations. I feel like we pay more than the average restaurant because we want all. I'm a employee first owner.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe that I could do this because everybody's telling me as a manager, how you value your employees is what makes you so good. I have so many connections from former employees. I mean, 22 different people I've gotten married that used to work for me. Isn't that crazy? that I've
cool.
been to weddings. So that's like a cool little thing I have on the side. But
that's not on the side. That's just you.
Yeah,
that's
it's just fun.
That's kind of.
So.
I mean, you can. I'm a math guy too, by the way. Your business stuff, but that's just you.
Yep.
That's just your personality in general, man. And I absolutely love that.
As an owner, you have to. There's a lot of people, they check a box, and I feel like my strength is I try to check multiple boxes. You have to understand numbers in the restaurant business.
Clearly.
That's huge. You also have to be a people person.
You got razor thin margin lines.
Razor thin
business,
margins,
man.
food costs, especially post-COVID.
Post-COVID. Woo. I can imagine. I haven't been in that space in a minute.
The first 2 weeks of COVID, I was terrified. Like I'm losing my house. My wife's going to divorce me. Then the next 10 months, it was gangbusters. I couldn't make enough money. I mean, it was just because we had QSR, pizza, chicken, drive-thru was wrapped around the building.
Dude.
Everybody wanted deliveries. Everybody was terrified. And then
I know we were delivering. I was at another textiles company, and we were doing the delivering at that
crazy
point.
time. Wasn't
It was nuts. I mean,
yeah,
that's a whole nother segment.
yeah. So then I'll come back.
That's great.
Then it slowed down, and then costs rose, right? Inflation, and next thing I'm looking at my invoices, and I'm like, here we go again. I'm going to be out of business. I'm going to lose my job, and things have kind of calmed down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been interesting. I learn every day something new is the takeaway. But you've got to be good with people. I've got 400 plus employees, and I try to know all my employees, which is really hard to do.
Wow.
So
400 plus in
our segment, in our sector right now, and so you got to be good with people. They have to believe in you and know you're real, not just puffing them up so that they can make money for you, right?
Just not inflating everything.
And that's and my brother's my operator, and I picked him. Who can you trust more than your family? So I learned a lot from my life back in 2015 of trust. Trust is paramount. So I trust my brother with everything I have. But more importantly than that, in my opinion, it's how he treats our people. So my brother, he's very similar to me. He's just probably doesn't have a mean bone in his body. To be honest with you, that's probably one of our weaknesses. Is I think maybe we could be a little more cutthroat, but we just love people. We love relationships, and he loves on our people so much. They work for him now, which is cool because I've always been they work for me. And at first, I was kind of like, wait a minute. He kind of is getting the love here, and I'm the owner, but it's really cool.
You getting jealous, man?
Yeah, a little bit. He's my older brother too, so but it's great. So he's a great fit for that, and he didn't have the experience on maybe the controllables, but he's learned a lot, and he's the right guy for the job. So
that's awesome.
It's awesome stuff.
I love it. Bill, I'm grateful that you're here. I want you to go ahead and we'll get ready to end this thing. But I admire your journey. I admire you just being vulnerable to be able to speak about that. I appreciate the respect, Jeff Holland, and just all that. I mean, I really do. I just see the community really growing and thriving, and there's a lot of growth that's coming, around through this area. And it's just, it's cool, but people need to see kind of that look into the mental aspect of what struggles and decisions people have to make. And it doesn't have to be high level. It can be low level. It's everywhere, and it can happen just like that. And blessed to have you on here. Hopefully you're busy. He's a busy dude. I'm going to try to get him back because this has been an incredible conversation and a lot of things that I really didn't even know. And I'm kind of speechless over some of it. So
I appreciate the
cool,
time.
Man.
It's fun to talk a little bit openly. I mean, like I said, I usually just kind of keep my head down and grind, but sometimes we have to reflect a little bit on how we got here. Because it's going to help us get to the next steps of where we're going. So
absolutely. And anything that you ever need with Focal Flip and my folks and community and everything, we'll support you guys 100%. We believe in what you're doing. We'll bring you back and just talk Bengals at some point. Just talk sports because I have sports written down in here and we didn't even get to it. We're at 43 minutes.
That's another piece we got. I mean,
that's another monster.
I was told by Donato's we're not going after the Bengals, and I said, "Watch me, we are." And then we signed it, and we raised sales 11% last year.
It's a beautiful thing.
So
I just think it's been so cool to watch. I was just at first when it happened, I'm like, Aseere is in there with the Bengals now, and we'll dive.
It's a game changer for us. It's been great partnership.
That's cool. So. That's cool. Any shout outs you want to give before we go? Any way anybody can get a hold of you?
No, I mean I just a local guy. I'm in my stores pretty much every day, so that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. On Facebook. So Bill Aseere on Facebook. I changed my name there for a while during my political venture. I was a city council member too for 8 years.
We didn't get to go into that. It was 8 years of that. I know that.
I term limited myself. I believe in term limits, and learned politics and business don't really play together. So got out of that. But Bill Aseere is the name on Facebook. I love talking to other like-minded people that want to, and I want to learn too. I don't ever want to be the smartest man in the room.
Yeah.
I want to keep learning. So
that's the thing. You lean in on the people and you take away pieces that are going to apply to your life. That's what I'm learning too. Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm so glad that we got to link up. Everybody, if you liked the episode, I know this has been awesome episode. You learn a ton of things. We really brought it full circle. Bill brought this thing full circle from the mental, emotional standpoint all the way in. To the business professional standpoint. And that's awesome. That's exactly what Focal Flip wants to do in destigmatizing mental health, normalizing getting treatment, and then empowering people, resilient minds, and success. Success looks different in multiple ways. It can look as financial. It can look social status. It can be all those things. But when you really look at it and you pour into people, you'll realize that success can be measured in lives and in people by pouring into them. And then everything else just naturally falls into place. And you'll be surprised at what that journey is like. So
love it.
That's my rundown. That's how we'll end it. Bill.
Sounds good.
Thank you, man. Hit like, hit subscribe. I'm old. I don't really know how to do all this stuff. My kids are going to do a swipe like. We're out. Hey, I'm going to get Bill to do the trick shot, though, before he leaves.
Trick shot.
Yeah, he didn't even know this is coming.
Nope.
So we're going to do the trick shot. I'll take the GoPro outside and see if he can swing it.
Oh, boy.
Thanks, buddy. Bill's got his pre-shots in. We're warmed up, ready to go.
Ready to rip.
He's out here working on this state-of-the-art goal, state-of-the-art facility. Here we are.
Kentucky boys.
That's how we do it, right, Billy?
Let's get started. Let's do this. Stop at the angle right here.
We got a GoPro. It's on Hyper Smooth.
Oh!
I don't even think.
Let's go!
Just throw it up there again. I think I had the camera down.
Oh!
Billy got one, y'all, just so y'all know.
Oh!
Here we go.
I got the spot now.
Yeah, see, once you get on it, then it all becomes that.
There it is. Nope. Too deep.
Nope.
One more.
He got one with no bank, though. That's legit. Oh, runner. All right, y'all.
Keep it coming back.
We had Billy do it. Hey, Bill, tell me about your experience on the Trick Shot Challenge.
Good luck. It's tough. Good luck. Find the white spot.
I'm gonna have to clean the side of the house.
Find the white spot.
We don't want to give away the tricks. All right, Billy, thanks a lot, man.
Absolutely. Thanks
Appreciate
for
you
having
looking out.
Yes, sir.
My
Good
God.
time.
Okay, you ready to wrap this thing up?
If you like Focal Flips videos, my dad's videos, go to YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, and like and subscribe to be updated.
I love it.